What up, fam? It's your boy Izzy coming at you with another CWI exclusive. Because today I get to hang out with someone that's not just a law student, but man, this guy got so many titles. And let me just tell you, he's making noise across the country. Now, Antonio, I know people can find your story online on big platforms like TED Talks and things like that. But could you please share a little bit about yourself and who you are?
Yeah, definitely. First of all, I'm thankful to be here. Izzy, my boy, my guy.
Yeah, man.
Let's make this magic. Let's make it happen, Captain. And yeah, dude. Look, a little bit about myself without getting too much in the weeds. We'll get there when we get there. I'm just a normal guy. I'm just like you. I'm just like anybody listening to this. And I've made a lot of mistakes in my life. I worked extremely hard, and I had to work harder than others based on the mistakes that I made. But I am very thankful for where I'm at right now, and I got a lot more work I need to do.
I like that, so succinct, but yet so powerful. So right now, you're actually in law school, right? Could you talk to us a little bit about your journey to law school? Because I know that a lot of people, like once they hear that part of it, like, man, it's just an inspirational story. Could you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, definitely. I would love to. So I took the road less traveled by, to say the least, right? So when I say that, I don't just mean that in the sense that I didn't go kindergarten all the way up until law school, which is a lot of people do, because a lot of people in law school, it's their mom or their dad was a lawyer, their mom or their dad might be a judge, or it's almost like it's in their genes. It's like it was prophesized on their life. This is what you're going to do.
Right.
And there are some people who are, no exaggeration, like fifth generation lawyer. Now, those people, they're supposed to win. They're supposed to be a lawyer. They're supposed to do this. That's why they graduate with a law degree at the age of 23, 24, which is awesome. That's great. Props to you. I mean, it is an extremely hard degree to get, and it's a lot of school,
right.
But people like me are a little different in the sense that, one, I'm not 24. I didn't go all the way through, the kindergarten track to law school. I took a little break. So for example, I'm 28 right now.
Okay.
And that already puts me at I don't want to say a disadvantage, but I feel like I got to catch up, a little bit. But I also feel like it's a blessing in disguise, because I'm a little more mature than some of the students who I've seen who are, 20 years old, or they just had their 21st birthday in law school and they want to party. And I'm like, yeah, but we got to test, right? Or yeah, but we got to read all these cases, right? So it's an interesting balance, and I think it's awesome. Now, that my age being, only 4 years older, whatever, is not the crazy story. Nobody gives a shit that I'm 28. What does get people to turn their head is when I tell them I was convicted of a violent felony when I was 19 years old. What does get people is when I tell them I received a strike. When I tell people I was convicted of armed robbery, that gets people to kind of turn their head and like, what? You did what? And I'm like, yeah. So almost 10 years ago, I was convicted of armed robbery. Okay. I was charged with multiple violent felonies. And when everything was said and done, I pled it down to one count of second-degree armed robbery, which is a felony, and I received a strike. So when you have people who mess up and who really, really hit bottom, you can't give up on them, because at the end of the day, you don't know what 5 years is going to turn out. You don't know what 10 years is going to turn out. You don't know what these people are going to turn out to be. So if you just give them an opportunity or a chance to prove themselves, you'd be surprised. You just don't know what type of returns you're going to get on your investment. And when I say investment, I mean anything from letting that person get a job when they check the box. An investment means when they disclose their past to you and you still treat them as an equal, no better or no worse than what you did right before you found out that they have a record. It's about being treated like you're normal. It's not about being treated like you're some monster. Oh, we were friends just a second ago. We were real cool. But all of a sudden I tell you this, and all of a sudden now you're moving your purse away from me. As if that purse wasn't within arm range this whole conversation. But now that you know this, you feel the need to slide it away from me. Now that you know this, we're no longer making jokes. You're no longer laughing. We're not enjoying each other's company. What happened? What's so different about me now than what was 5 minutes ago? All that changed was your attitude and your perception of me based on what I disclosed to you. And that's wrong. That's wildly inappropriate. So when I think, I'm going to go off on a little tangent real quick because it's so relevant. When I hear stories about George Floyd, he got killed by a police officer in front of everybody. One thing that I noticed about him specifically was his record got brought up, as does many people who get killed by police. Their record is used almost as a weapon to legitimize the violence that was thrust upon them, as if it was okay to suffocate that man in the middle of the street because he was convicted of a felony. Fun fact about George Floyd, he did not commit a crime after 5 years of his last one. Statistically speaking, if you look at any criminology book, after 5 years, you're most never going to recidivate. Recidivate means you go to jail, you get out, you do a crime, you go back. That's recidivism. 5 years. Most people recidivate within the first 6 months. After 3 years, that number drops dramatically. After 5, is basically non-existent. So the fact that that man hadn't done anything for 5 years is highly likely that, one, he wasn't doing anything that he was suspected of doing in that altercation. And two, he probably never would have done anything anyways. And three, people age out of crime also. You don't necessarily hear about a 60-year-old doing armed robbery. No, you hear about somebody between the ages of 18 and 24. That is peak crime age. So let's bring it back a little bit. 5 years. He was killed 5 years after his last release. If I was killed 5 years after my release, the only thing that I would have accomplished is that, one, I didn't recidivate, and two, I got a couple of AA degrees from a junior college. You give me one more year, and all of a sudden, I've got a few certificates. All of a sudden, I'm almost done with my bachelor's degree. You give me one more year after that, I graduate from the University of San Francisco as valedictorian. You give me one more year, and all of a sudden, I'm in law school. You give me almost 10 years after my release, and now I'm on a nationwide platform trying to create change, trying to be a positive person. I no longer seek out violence. I no longer seek to eye for an eye. I don't do none of that. I'm old. I'm cranky. My back hurts. You know what I'm saying?
I feel that.
But what I do try to do is I try to bring joy into this world. I try to bring light into this world. But if my life was cut short at 5, who would I be? How would you measure my success? And the part that bothers me even more about that is my success was just as equal as George Floyd. In my books, if you don't recidivate, you're successful. I don't care if you start your own business and you're cleaning floors, right, or you're a handyman, or you're a plumber or an electrician. You are just as successful and you are just as valuable as I am. Just because I'm in law school doesn't make me any better or any worse than anybody. One, from my neighborhood. Two, in prison currently, just got released from jail or prison, or they're just trying to be a stay-at-home. It does not matter to me. I don't care. We all have value. We all have value in different ways. I don't know shit about plumbing. All I know is that shit rolls downhill. That's all I know about that. You know what I mean? I don't know about electricity other than I got shocked a couple times. I've been tased a few, but I don't know about that. I couldn't wire a house. That's value.
Right.
We all have value, so when people try to legitimize violence and excuse extreme violence, because he had a record. Oh, well, she had a record. Oh, well, she's a drug addict. Oh, well, he's a drug addict. Oh, well, he had it coming. Who are you to say that? Who are you to justify that level of violence? It's unacceptable. Now, when I say that's a very, very long tangent. But what I'm saying is I took the road less traveled by to get to law school, and I'm very thankful that, one, my life wasn't cut short. People who did take a chance on me, they did. And they received dividends and returns. Whether if that was from the junior college who did not have a little box for me to check off. I graduated there with a 4.0 GPA and multiple certificates and 3 AA degrees. I said a couple earlier, I misspoke. It should have been a few. I had 3 AA degrees. I earned just about every single award offered by that entire campus.
Wow.
And I was still on probation doing that. As much as I was on a roll and as awesome as that might have been, we had technical difficulties on both sides. So I feel like we should just address the elephant in the room and say that I'm no longer in the same room.
Right? Appreciate that, man. Appreciate the patience, bro.
Yeah, no problem. But what I was talking about was the long road to get to where I am, the return on your investments, the return on investing in people, investing in opportunities for people. And that can show up in a myriad of different ways. It's not just financial investment. It's also the support. It's also the love. It's also the respect. And so when I was talking about the people who have invested in me, as hard as I work, I did not do it by myself. I did have to catch a break because back in 2013, there was no love for felons, period. I couldn't even vote. You know what I'm saying? Like there was just no love top to bottom. You know what I mean? So I had to really find people who were empathetic or were willing to at least give me a shot. So when I was at the junior college, like I said, there wasn't that box and I killed it. I was able to really prove to these people, academically, my prowess is here. I belong. And the thing is not only did I prove it to them, I proved it to myself.
Right.
Because I had so many people tell me that I was dumb, that I would go back, that I was just an animal and I deserved to be in a cage and you'll go back. And I did exactly what was opposite of that. I went to college. And, all the people who gave me a chance at the junior college and all the little, I wouldn't even call them favors. It's more like an opportunity that my merits should have awarded me, but normally they wouldn't have done it because of the record. So even though I earned it academically, there was still kind of a hesitation because do we really want this guy? Do we really want it with this guy? And luckily my devilish good looks were able to, I'm just kidding. I'm just playing. But no, I mean, it was, it wasn't easy, even though I had the academic ability and even though I had, I was killing it. I still had the struggles and the hurdles and the systematic barriers that were set in place for people like me, because they did not want people like me, they being the system, they being the man, it's set up for people like me to fail. And the fact that, it's almost like they would give me a crumb and see what I would do with it. And I'd take it and run. And then they'd be like, okay, well, here's another crumb. Let's see how far you can go. And those little crumbs were those little investments, whether if it was people who were like, I don't know if I want to trust a felon, because he's a felon, duh. You know what I mean? All of a sudden I rewarded their trust by delivering on a promise. Now, whether if that promise was achieving academically, whether if that promise was showing you, here's your wallet you let me hold. Yeah, go ahead, check. It's all still in there. Whatever that promise may have looked like, I delivered my end of the bargain. I delivered that I was a good person and that I was worthy of a second chance. Just let me prove to you that I should get that second chance. Give me the opportunity. Give me those little nuggets. You know what I'm saying? You will return, your return investment is going to be crazy. Same thing when I got to USF. I transferred to the University of San Francisco. Like I said, there was that box. Yeah. And I felt like they were like, well, let's see what happens. I had the 4.0 GPA. I was a stellar candidate, in my oh so humble opinion, just looking at the grades alone, basketball team, student government, they should have been like, oh, hell yeah, let's run this guy in here. Who is this guy? But the fact that I had to check that box and I had to write an additional essay explaining arguably one of the worst moments of my life, that in and of itself brings up PTSD and trauma because I'm like, oh yeah, let me relive the moment where 7 of my friends died in 1 year.
Yeah.
And I just got done being homeless. And now my homeless friend is asking me to go drive him to a store while he's going to go rob it. How do I explain that? How do I articulate that in a way that does not show that I'm excusing my actions, and does not show that I hate who I am, but I hate the action and I can't necessarily regret the action because it made me want to be a better person, but I do regret all the pain that I inflicted on others. How do I accurately display that while also having that scab of all that PTSD get kicked up? How do I explain to these people, you should trust a man who's on probation for a violent felony? How do I talk about that? And now I got to write it on an essay. Everybody's nerve-wracked around the idea of writing a personal statement for any college that they go to. And now the fact that I got to write an additional essay explaining who I once was at the lowest moment of my life, Let's think about that. Let's go kick up some painful ass memories and fucking go share that with some strangers. Go ahead. Just do that. That's easy to do, right?
Right.
Go relive that painful part of your past. So I did. I got in. And guess what? I killed it there too. I got inducted into 3 honor roll societies. I volunteered at a halfway house. I mean, my God, I did it all. I was president of a club. I made honor rolls and dean's list every single semester, all the way from junior college, all the way up until graduation. I earned every single award that was offered by my department. And I graduated as valedictorian, and not only that, but now, everybody wants to be part of the success train. I've made serious sacrifices to get to where I am.
No doubt.
Everybody wants to be successful until they realize how much work is in the success.
Right.
And now the fact that, I got, once I earned valedictorian over at USF, people were coming out the woodwork because now they're like, oh, from Felonies to 4.0, which is my saying before that goes anywhere. I made that up when I was at the junior college because I would tell everybody I turned my felonies into 4.0s. And that's true. It's what I did, and now, like I said, my story started to trend. And all of a sudden, everybody wants to be on the winning team. Everybody want to be a part of, like I said, everybody want to be a part of that success story. Right. They started to see my trajectory. They started to. I don't think some of them really quite fathomed, nor did I, to be completely honest, like just what my trajectory had in store for me. And it goes back to those little crumbs. I was no longer getting crumbs. I was getting like, okay, let me get a chip. And it's like, okay, let me get a bag of chips. Like, okay, well, now how about instead of just a side, instead of a snack, we'll give you a full meal. Let's see what you do. And the fact that I'm able to eat it and keep going, the fact that I'm able to like take all these challenges, take the, the punches to the jaw, just take it. People keep giving me more. They give me more challenges. They give me harder things to do. And they're like, well, let's see if you can keep delivering. Right. And the fact that I do keep delivering proves everybody right for their investment in me as a person. I would not be here if people did not invest in me. And these investments were small at first. Oh my God, were they small? And that's fine. I had to prove myself. I get it. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I get it. Now people really are starting to like put some money behind me. Like, there's a real, like, let's stake this. Let's see what happens. And that couldn't be more evident with the fact of the very handsome scholarship that I got from my law school, and that's why when people ask me, like, what's your journey? How'd you get to law school? It is the road less traveled by. It's the fact that I kept making everybody proud as I kept going. I kept proving them right, that I was the right horse to back. I was the right man to put their money behind, because guess what? I'm going to do it. I've got that grit. I've got that drive. I will not stop. I will succeed. And you cannot stop me. I will keep going. And the fact is that so many people counted me out, and that includes institutions. Right. So many collegiate institutions counted me out. Now it's like every time I go places, every time I speak, I was at Yale Law School. I was, mind you, I don't think they would have given me the time of day with my LSAT, but that's not the point. We're going to talk about that.
Right.
But, it's like, it's crazy. I went down, I went over with Yale with NJIBA, the National Justice Impacted Bar Association, and spoke on a panel over there. And it was awesome. I flew down to UCLA Law School with the California System Involved Bar Association. And, like I said, both of these bar associations are brand new. They're just getting off the ground. It's like that bird trying to fly, it flaps its wing, gets up, and then it drops back down, and it's got to run a little bit more, and then it flaps its wings. And then it's like, so we're getting there. Yeah. We're getting there, but it takes a lot of work from a lot of different people. And it's truly beautiful, and I think that the timing's right. I would like to think that the people who came before me, because I am not the first one, without a doubt. There was plenty of people before me. My mentors are absolutely phenomenal. People had invested in them, and people bet on them. And guess what? They succeeded in their bet. Whether if that was Tara Simmons up in Washington, because you guys are out there right now. Yeah. She just won. She's a representative now. She just won an election.
Yeah, she's doing good.
Right. And then we got people like Sean Hopwood, James Banal, Frankie Guzman. There are so many absolute powerhouses around the nation. And it's not just men, it's women. Like I said, Tara, we got Keita Haynes out in Tennessee. We got Mary Kay Holmes. We got just phenomenal people. Desmond Mead out in Florida. There is truly beautiful people, both inside and out, who are involved in this, who are very smart, who are very, very just wow. When some people just come in, you're just like, damn, you have a presence. And, it's a beautiful thing, So when I say I took the road less traveled by, it really is because not many people were willing to invest in me. But all those people who invested in me, they keep getting returns. Every time I go out and I give a speech, every time I go and I get published in an article, every time there's an article written about me that I didn't write, guess what it shows? Every school who took a bet on me. And if there's enough room in the article, I do give shout outs. I will say, hey, shout out to Frankie, shout out to Jamie, shout out to this person, shout out to Dieter. I give my shout out, I give credit where credit's due. Because I realize we stand on the shoulders of giants. There would be no Antonio Reza if there was no Frankie Guzman, if there was no Sean Hopwood, if there was no Tara Simmons. There would not be me. Because other people saw, oh, if we invest like they invested, maybe this will come back. Oh, well, they invested and it didn't blow up in their face. So maybe it's okay to take that risk and get that felon on their campus.
Right.
And now every time I go places, I'm like, yeah, Ohlone College for junior college, University of San Francisco, and Santa Clara University School of Law. Those are my schools. I got their back to the end because they took a bet on me.
Right.
And you know what? I will make sure that I make them proud everywhere that I go. And I stay true to that, and I will hold that to my heart. And I love all those places. They did a lot for me, at various levels. At Ohlone, I learned how to no longer be a thug. I actually learned how to be a man and that there was a different way.
Right.
Other than, like I still hustle, and hustle in the sense of work hard, not hustle in the sense of like flipping bricks and doing tricks or whatever, you know what I'm saying? But like, no, I really I take that hustler mentality.
Right.
I like to, when I'm talking with some of the at-risk youth, I call it transferable skills. I've spoken to some kids that are locked up in juvenile halls and I tell them, I'm like, hey, if you've been in a gang, guess what? You just learned teamwork.
Yeah.
Hey, guess what? If you've ever sold drugs or if you ever sold some shit, guess what? You're an entrepreneur. You're good at math. Also, you're a salesman. You're good at selling things. You know what I mean? You learn the metric system for what? Put it to work. Go be an engineer, fool.
Right.
I tell them, like, look, you have transferable skills, whether if you realize it or not. When you've seen traumatic events and if you've been shot at, guess what? You learn how to operate under duress, under extreme circumstances. That's the transferable skill. So when other people are folding and other people are breaking because they're not used to this level of stress, scrutiny, and oh my God, I'm out here still operating. I'm still thinking with a clear head because I'm like, well, at least I'm not being shot at.
Right.
Yeah, this test fucking sucks. Yeah, it's stressful. Yeah, I bombed a cold call, but guess what? That's still nothing. I can still operate under this duress. I can still operate under this level of stress. I can still push forward. So just because you've got a troubled past does not mean that you're stupid. And it does not mean that you do not have skills that you've learned along the way. And I make sure to tell all those kids that because I'm like, look, man, don't just talk about it, be about it, right? Well, look, I'm being about it. If I can do it, why can't you? Why don't you be valedictorian? And here's the thing. You don't have to be fucking valedictorian to be successful. And I will always say that. You can be the plumber, you can be the electrician. Again, I don't care. You have value. Just because I know a couple of laws, just because I can throw out some criminology facts to you, just because I know about the criminal justice system mildly, and I say that mildly because I recognize the more you know, the more you realize you don't know.
Right.
Doesn't mean that I'm I know it all about everything. You know what I'm saying? So everybody has value. You just got to give them a chance. And if somebody has a record, invest in that person because I promise you, they are starved for opportunities and they will deliver because they do not know when the next opportunity is going to be. That's the approach that I took. I said, damn, this person placed a bet on me. I don't know if this will ever happen again.
Right. Bro, and you shared, I love the way you broke that down because it's really powerful, right? At first, one of the things that stuck out to me was that, how much time can change somebody's perspective. How you were saying, if somebody would have taken you out a couple of years after your conviction, you wouldn't have been successful in the same way where you're at now, right? So I think that's powerful. And then this idea of these places, you know, even having to think that they're taking a risk on you without knowing you, without like, just because you check off a box or you're, you know, some sort of status or whatever, they figure that they have to take a risk on you. But, you know, I think that I speak for a lot of us, bro. Like we appreciate you beating those odds that you've beaten, and that you've given them the return on investment that I'm sure has exceeded what they were looking for. Now, where you're at right now, I know that you're involved in a lot of things within the law school, but like outside of the law school, the list is probably too long. But can you give us a couple of things that you're working outside of law school, just to kind of give people an idea of everything that you got your hands on?
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to finish answering a question that I didn't finish answering, and then it will tie into law school. So when I said I learned at Aloni, I learned how to be a man. You know, I learned there was a different way. There was more than one way to exist in this world. You know, I didn't have to be a thug. You know, I could flex my brain in a different way. You know, when I got to USF, I did a lot. It was very research based. So I learned even more how to be an academic, and more as a academic professional, almost as if I was a professor. You know, I was doing primary research on the criminal justice system in the sense that I was conducting interviews. I was talking to people who were formerly incarcerated, and all my research was done about how communication is impacted by incarceration and the various ways that that shows up. And then at, you know, Santa Clara, the school I'm at right now in law school, you know, it's really embracing who I am. You know, now I'm the academic with a bit of an edge. You know, I wear my suits, but I still have my Air Force Ones. You know what I mean? It's really embracing who I am in my entirety, whether if that is a little bit of my past, a little bit of my deep past, to my present, and also where I want to go and where do I see myself. You know, I'm able to be myself. And I think for me, that is so crucial, and that's so important. And it's, I no longer have to hide. You know, I'm celebrated for my differences. I finally made it to a place where they love me for who I am. They support me for who I am. And I felt like I didn't necessarily have to prove that they were making a bet in the same way that other places were. Like now, I just want to make them proud.
Yeah.
You know, it's no longer that I'm trying to prove that I belong, even though everybody kind of has that in law school, you know, that little bit of imposter syndrome. Now I'm just trying to make them proud. You know, I'm no longer trying to prove like I'm smart. I'm no longer trying to prove that I belong. You know, I'm like, I just want to make sure that they know I'm appreciative of everything that they've done for me, and that I love them, you know, and they love me, and it's an awesome support group. And it was a different type of bet. You know, it wasn't necessarily one of like, oh, I'm taking this huge risk because we don't know if he's a loose cannon, or we don't know if he's going to go rob everybody, or, you know, whatever the crazy hypothetical fact pattern they may have conjured up in their mind. You know, now it's like, yeah, they took a bet, but it was because I was a normal student in their mind. They genuinely cared about me. And it's been a wild transition, but I'm very thankful for that. Now, with that being said, I'm able to be the best law student that I can be. And like I mentioned before, I got a very, very generous scholarship from Santa Clara. And I'm able to do it all. You know, I don't have the GPA that I have to maintain to keep my scholarship is if I disqualify. So like, I just have to pass my classes and I get to keep my scholarship, bro. I'm chilling.
Right. Yeah.
But, you know, with that being said, I am allowed to stretch my legs. I am allowed to figure out even more who I am and give back even more and just do more in general, because I'm not freaking out or worried about, am I going to lose my scholarship because it's contingent on me maintaining a 3.0, which isn't rare for most law schools. Most law schools give those, you know, scholarships that explode after a semester or after a year. If you don't meet certain requirements. At Santa Clara itself, I am the VP of external, the external VP for La Raza. At Santa Clara, I'm also the VP of external affairs of the SBA, the Student Bar Association. For those of you who don't know, who are listening, that's basically like student government in law school. Mm-hmm. Outside of, one thing I am cooking up in the works is I'm planning on starting a law student organization for formerly incarcerated people or justice impacted people at Santa Clara also. Coming soon, you know. So that's that. That'll be a fun little project and a nice legacy to leave at the school, you know, so that way formerly incarcerated or justice impacted people will have a place to call their own, you know, little community where we can kind of get together and be like, damn, man, I was kind of triggered in that criminal law class because I remember, you know, either A, being a victim or B, being a perpetrator of that crime.
Right.
Like, damn, that hypo the professor gave, like, did he read my case? Like, that was me, bro. Like, what? You know, and it would be the way I envision it, it would be just a place to hang out, you know, and yeah, it's a law student organization, it's a club, but then I would get guest speakers to come in like Sean Hopwood or Frankie Guzman or James Benall or, you know, anybody, you know, I think that'd be awesome, you know, to do. And I think that'd be a really cool thing to figure out. I'll get that set up. But so that's that. A little bit outside of that, I do a lot of public speaking events. So I go, well, now I Zoom around the nation. And it's cool, you know, whether if that is down south, I'm in the Bay Area in California. For those of you guys who don't know, I'm right between Oakland and San Jose. That's where I'm living. And yeah, so if I go down south, down to like LA, you know, I could Zoom in, do a little conference up there, or I can Zoom up north and hit up Washington State, you know, or go wherever. You know, I've talked to people down in Tennessee, Georgia, you know, Florida and New York. Not so much in the middle. But yeah, you know, it's so there's that. I do a lot of that. I just finished writing a book. I added a chapter to an anthology. So the way I explain what an anthology is, it's kind of like a mixtape where there's like 18 different authors all on one book. You know what I'm saying? And we each added our own chapter to it. And it was dope. It's on Amazon right now. It's selling pretty good, surprisingly. I actually sold out. I ordered a couple of boxes of them and I sold out. I had to order some more boxes. So that was really cool. It was really validating. I am working on a solo project book right now. It's going to be sick. And then in terms of bar associations, I am a part of the Santa Clara County La Raza's Bar Association. I'm also part of, I'm one of the founding people. Yeah, one of the founding members, not one of the co-founders of the California System Involved Bar Association. And what that one is it's a bar association and it's for justice impacted people. However that may look, you know, it's been really cool. You know, we got a logo, we're starting to get some gear. We're going to be, you know, we got some clothes that we'll be giving out and selling and doing all sorts of stuff. We had our first annual convening down at UCLA. That's why I was down there earlier back in March. And it's awesome. You know, we're slowly building that pipeline. You know, we've working with, you know, things like the Underground Scholars, Project Rebound, a lot of second chance organizations in higher education, and showing them like, look, if you want to keep going, you know, if you don't want to just stop at an undergraduate level, you can go to law school. Now, mind you, you can go get a PhD, you can go get a master's, no problem. But most people don't realize that if you have a record, you can also go to law school. It's going to be significantly harder, but it is possible. And that's what we're doing. You know, it's the knowledge is power. And then the fact when, you know, monkey see, monkey do. And if you see this monkey doing it, maybe you can do it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I was born the year of the monkey in Chinese New Year, so I can say it. No, I'm just playing. But yeah, you know what I mean? It's a beautiful thing just seeing the fact that people are starting to get woke. Right. You know, they're starting to see it. You know, they're starting to see that one, it's a possibility. Two, it's not outlandish to give a felon an opportunity. You know what I mean? Like, look at what I'm doing. Look at what all the people who came before me have been doing. So that's the California System Involved Bar Association. There's a lot of stuff. There's an active website. It's a lot of great people on that board, a lot of really, really big hitters. I'm very honored to be the Northern California student representative. That is my official role and title. I'm an executive board member And like I said, my title is the Northern California Student Representative. It's great. I'm absolutely love it. Love all the people that I've met. It's a great network of people. Great support system too. That's one thing about the justice impacted community, the formerly incarcerated community. It's very supportive, top to bottom. We may bump heads every now and then because we're stubborn, but at the end of the day, we're all still there for each other. And I really like that a lot. And I really respect that. So there's that one. And then, zooming out a little bit more, I am the first student president of the National Justice Impacted Bar Association. Now, this one is gigantic. And with that being said, it's kind of a beast to get your arms around it, simply because every state has different procedures that they do for justice impacted people. Every state has their own laws. It's called state sovereignty. When you take constitutional law, you'll figure that out real quick. But it is a pain in the ass, but it's also a great network, because if you want to address federal issues, what better way than to be a part of a national organization? If there's a woman who found me in Utah, and she found me when I was speaking at the LSAC event. And it was about the Law School Admissions Council. That's what LSAC stands for. And it was about justice impacted people. I had me, Sean Hopwood on there, Wesley Keynes. God, I'm forgetting 3 other things. Sarah was on there. Just phenomenal people, right? I was very honored to be a part of that event. And she saw it, and she found a way to she found me, and she was like, "Oh my God, you're amazing. Help." You know what I mean? And I was like, "I got you." So the thing is like on a national, when you get put on a national stage and you find people who might have slipped through the cracks otherwise. So this woman from Utah, she's absolutely brilliant. She's going through the cycle right now of applying. And I helped her out with that process and, really talked her through it. And I said, "Hey, those middle states, you're going to get waitlisted when you should have been accepted." Just flat out. She had I think either like a 3.9 GPA or like a 4.0. Like, she's brilliant. She had like I think it's a 160s in the LSAT. I was like, you should, these law schools should be tripping over themselves trying to grab you.
Right.
But you got that box you got to check a couple of times, you know what I'm saying? And schools are going to be hesitant. They're going to see the work that, I do. They're going to see the work that other phenomenal formerly incarcerated people have done. And they're going to think maybe that's you, but they've got how many years of prejudice stacked up against you? They've got 30 years in the legal field and 30 years of the legal field telling them not to accept somebody like me. And all of a sudden they're trying to shift that paradigm. They're trying to shift that thought process. And that's not necessarily an easy thing to do. So I told her, I said, be ready for all those wait lists. I said, when you get those schools that are on the West Coast or on the East Coast, you'll get more love. It's just more accepting. But all those middle ones, especially Utah, where you're from, you better get ready to move, because that shit, you ain't gonna be going to school out there, bro. And she was like, "Oh, really?" And I'm like, "Watch, you'll see." So she texted me yesterday, and she said, "Damn, you were right." And I'm like, "Of course I'm right. It's me. Come on now." But so it is cool to have that national one, because you find people who you would not have normally found. I've found people in Tennessee and in Georgia, and I've been helping them out through that process of trying to get into law school and what to expect and how to do this dance. You know what I mean? Because it really is a dance. It really is a shimmy, and it sucks because one thing about law school is you have to write an addendum, which is an additional essay, and it's about have you ever? Each law school will have a different way they word it, but it's essentially, have you ever been convicted of a crime? Now, some law schools will ask, have you ever been arrested? Some law schools will ask, have you ever been detained? Some law schools will ask, have you ever had how many tickets have you gotten? And what were they?
Right.
I got rejected from a school that asked me about my tickets because I got Pokemon, man. I got all the tickets, bro. Like, I'm talking seatbelt, stop sign, red light, commuter lane, speeding, all of them, bro. Just give them all to me. Damn. But all the schools.
He's like, I got all of them.
I got all the tickets, man. I bought a police car with the amount of tickets I paid over the years. Shit. But yeah, it's every school is going to ask something different. And again, you got to rehash and relive and dig back up all that bullshit, all that trauma. You just made it through undergrad. You're a successful student. You're pretty smart if you're applying to law school. And now guess what? Now you have to go back to your darkest days. It's almost like they're pulling you back just to slingshot you forward. Like you got that tension built up in that slingshot. They pull you back to that dark era. And then once you can make it, once you can write that good essay, it just launches you forward into the legal career. But then again, you have to pass the bar, which is another issue, which is why the national one is great, because we do have such a broad network and we do have there's just so many of us out there that you just don't know we exist if you're not tapped in.
Right.
And the beautiful thing about the national one is we'll find somebody near you. And then you go to that person for the specific answers that relate to you specifically. So when I give a shout out to people like Frankie and Jamie, those people are involved in the California System Involved Bar Association. So that directly applies to me and the specific tango that I got to do in order to pass the bar's moral character section. Whereas in Utah, I'm like, you're going to have to talk to some different people, because I can't give you the answers for Utah. I can't give you the answers for Georgia or Tennessee or New York, because the answers are different on these tests.
Right.
Every state has a different procedure. Every state has different methods of madness as to why they do what they do. We're trying to exclude our people, which is funny, because at the end of the day, the people who do get their bar card revoked are more often than not formerly incarcerated people, which is kind of like, you're keeping out the wrong people. But whatever, for another conversation, another day. So yeah, those are the bar associations. I'm involved in the local level, and at Santa Clara, at my school, and I'm also involved statewide, and I'm also involved nationwide. And I try to funnel people in the right directions to talk to the right people, and it's been crazy. It's a lot of work, Jesus Christ, but it's good. It's good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it. I think that's, one of the things since I've met you and heard about you, I think that it's one of the things that has impressed me the most, just how much you're doing. But then within all of that, and, I'm sure people are already starting to catch on, but within all that, you managed to be this powerful advocate for justice impacted people.